Hi, everyone. We are back with some of our alumni to share some wonderful information with you about their transition to college. So I would love to introduce Shannon and Perrin, both graduates of the class of 2020. They are going to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves and their journey, where they are now. And then we are going to ask them to share some of their wisdom and insights that they have gained since graduating from DHS last year and starting college. So Shannon, can I start with you? Ask you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Shannon Flaherty. I'm a freshman at Providence College, and I'm currently undeclared, but I was going to declare marketing as my major this coming semester, but because of COVID and many of the limitations we have, freshmen were not allowed to declare into any business major. So that's what I'm planning on doing, as well as a Spanish minor. As of right now, with the few clubs and activities that are open, I've joined an a cappella group here on campus. At Providence, we have one co-ed, one all-male, one all-female group, and I'm in the co-ed group. I will be trying out for the club field hockey team next fall, but because everything was so restricted this past fall, we weren't able to have tryouts or a season in general. So I love it here.
That's awesome. Perrin?
Hi, I'm Perrin Trask. I go to Elon University. I'm a freshman here. I'm a communication design major. We don't declare until sophomore year, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. And a professional sales minor. Involvements here, I'm in Sweet Signatures a cappella group. It's one of our all-female groups. I'm also a part of Tri Delta, which is one of our sororities. I have a job on campus. I work with America Reads, which is a work-study program that matches Elon students with tutors in the Alamance County area. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, is that all? It sounds like you guys have gotten involved in a lot. That's awesome. So knowing and understanding that you started college under the toughest of circumstances and in a way that, classes before you have not, and you face challenges that other people haven't. And hopefully our class of 21 will start under more normal circumstances in the fall. What was one of the things that surprised you the most about your transition to college or starting that new phase?
I can start. I think disregarding COVID, as difficult as that is when talking about it and definitely experiencing it, I think time management has definitely been something for me that I'm still not good at, but have definitely learned to be better at, even within the 4 months I've been on campus. I think that you learn a lot about it, especially at Darien High School, because we're a pretty competitive school to begin with and have a lot of activities there. But I think that in college, it's a lot more work, but a lot more time to do that work. So I have definitely found myself many times saving things for the last minute and trying to cram too much into too little time. So I would definitely say work as hard as you can now. I know this spring for seniors is the time where you're like finally feeling done, especially I'm sure this year in particular, but getting ready to really get back to work and understand how to organize yourself well so you'll be able to be successful as far as when your assignments are due and projects and studying and everything like that.
Yeah, I think going off of that, a big thing with time management in college that I've found, at least at Elon specifically, is they want you to be involved in things that you want to be involved in. I feel like there is a lot of organizations that are welcoming you like with open arms. Like, it's not you're doing something to say that you did it, it's doing something because you want to do it. And I feel like without parents here or without other influences, you can do really kind of whatever you want. So that can be a blessing and a curse because you're making your own schedule, but you can like find groups that are welcoming even with COVID. That's just like goes without saying, but you're able to do things over Zoom and stuff and still meet people that way.
So would you say that, what would you say in terms of the change in independence? Like, how has that been, the adjustment to adulting, so to speak? How is that, what's your experience with that?
Personally, I found that the professors here, because we have kind of smaller classes, they are very good at communicating with students. So you kind of feel comforted in a way to have people that are kind of protecting you. Like my professors reach out to me all the time, which I think is really nice, just to like check in on how I'm doing, if I'm feeling good about the class. But in terms of just like living and doing your own thing, it's important to check in at home. Like I feel like when I don't do that, I start to feel a little out of place and just like in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. So that's something important to remember. Like nobody's making you do that, but you kind of have to. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm here at school with my twin brothers, so I have my own little sense of home here, whether I like it at times or not. But because regardless of your relationship with either your parents or your siblings or whatever, I think just having some type of home ground that you can call, or an old friend or an old teacher reach out to, I think that has really helped me as well. I definitely recommend calling your mom, calling your dad, checking in just to remind yourself of the people that you love. And I think that helps a lot, especially, I mean, I'm closer to home than Perrin is, but it can feel a little scary at times, a little lonely, especially in the beginning. I went random for my roommates, and we live perfectly fine together, but we are not like hangout friends. And definitely for the first few days, I'd say even the first 2 weeks, even because we had to isolate and quarantine until we had results, it was really hard because I couldn't really meet new people. And I feel like that's a challenge that you need to face regardless of global pandemic or not. But I definitely would say keep in touch with your friends, your family, just to make you comfortable.
So on that note, in terms of roommate advice, any roommate advice? I think in some ways it's sometimes a rite of passage to sometimes have to deal with a challenging roommate, and not always the worst thing to have that experience. But what's it like to adjust to living with sometimes a complete stranger, and sharing space and setting some ground rules? What's the roommate situation been like?
I feel like Shannon and I have had different experiences with this. My roommate is my older sister. She's the same person. I mean, I love her. She's become my best friend here, but in the beginning it was hard because it felt like I had my sister here, and it was difficult because we are very different in terms of how we like to keep the room, how we like to keep our beds and all of that stuff. And the biggest thing I found is just communication is so important, and not communicating passively. I don't like to confront people because I don't like to inconvenience people, but it got to the point where I was like just throwing her stuff on her bed and telling her to pick it up. Like you just have to do things and you have to say, hey, I like this, even if you just met this person. You're going right into living in a small gross dorm right away. So you have to really just recognize that communication is the biggest thing with that, even if your roommate is your best friend.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like Perrin just said, we do have very, very different situations. I think because I decided on PC so late, I missed social media is such a huge thing now, especially given the fact that you couldn't go visit the schools, or I couldn't go to the accepted students days. I was like, already felt behind. I was just like, I might as well go random. I know that at some schools, they don't take those surveys very seriously, but luckily our survey was taken seriously because I live in a very clean, both of my roommates, I said earlier, we don't hang out or really talk that much, but actually I started out with 2 roommates and one of them moved to a single dorm. So now it's just the 2 of us in a really big room, which I think could be easy to make a mess of, but luckily, because we have very, very similar living styles, just in terms of, like parents said, how we like to keep the room, when we like to go to bed, when we like to wake up, I spend almost none of my time in my dorm room because I just don't like, I like to be with my friends. I like to be outside. I like to work out, anything like that. So I think I seriously lucked out with how comfortable it is to be here. Like I think it could have gone very wrong and it did not. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm hearing you say also to be really upfront and honest about,
Oh, absolutely.
if you're a messy person, say so, because
Yes,
otherwise you're
because
going to get.
I would have not have been happy if she said she liked to go to bed at 2 a.m. or is very clean but really wasn't. So if you're filling out those surveys and you want to go random, I seriously do not think there's anything wrong with going random. I've had honestly, I'm so glad I didn't choose my roommates because I would be in a very different situation than I am right now. But just be honest with yourself on those if you're going to fill them out, because you're not only helping yourself, you're helping 2, 3, however many other people you're living with.
Also be honest when communicating with people over social media, because
Yes.
my roommate said, "Oh yeah, I'm so neat." For sure. Yeah, no, I make my bed all the time. I wake up at 8 a.m. and I'm like, cool, same. And opposites for sure. So tell the truth.
And that can create conflicts. Like, I mean, when you're living that, in such close quarters, if you're not honest and you don't have similar approaches, like if you're a messy person, go live with another messy person, and right, it'll probably work out just fine. Awesome. So do you feel academically and personally, do you feel like you were prepared, and you can be honest, do you feel like you were prepared coming out of DHS to live independently and for your academic rigor at your schools?
Absolutely.
100%. I feel academically, I was prepared too much because I was reaching out to my professors like, hey, when's this gonna happen? Like, what's up? Like, thinking that things were gonna be way more intense than they were. And honestly, it gave me so much time to do things for me. And I never had, like, for example, at DHS, and I'm so grateful for this now that I'm so prepared, but I never had weekends. I never knew what it was like to sleep in on a Saturday. Like, I always had SAT prep or something like with a club or charity work or something. And so I never knew what it was like to sleep in on a Sunday morning and chill for a minute. And that's been really nice. I recommend that you give yourself those weekends and you give yourself the time to try things too, because whatever student is watching this, you're so well prepared for whatever school you're going to.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially in regard to like the free time, like and time management, what we were talking about before. I think being so involved and being so encouraged to be involved at DHS, whether it was because you were really interested in something, which I hope most of the time it was, or if it was just to slap something else on your college application, because I know that happens too. But I think just being so encouraged to spread yourself amongst groups, amongst class level. I think shout out to the guidance department, because I think you guys do a really good job at telling us to push ourselves, although it might be hard in that moment or in that year or whatever it may be. I think you get to school, hopefully any school, and feel well prepared, because you, like parents said, you do take the chill time and the fun time. I like going, like being with my friends on Friday, Saturday nights, you like crave that. So I think it's fun just to learn how to balance the two of those.
I love that. And that's an awesome segue to my next question, which is, how do you balance like your academic responsibilities with the fun, especially when, maybe you only have 12 to 15 hours of class and it's a lot more independent work time. How do you strike a balance? What have you learned about that?
I definitely can still work on balancing school with fun because I think freshman year, like being here with COVID and everything, I cut myself a little too much slack. Not that my mom's probably like listening to this, watching this, but
She
not,
will be, yes.
not in a bad way. But I, even in high school, I really valued just having time to be with my friends to do the things I love. And hopefully if you choose clubs and activities based on your own interests, not things that you think will just look good in high school to colleges or in college to future jobs or anything like that, whatever you're planning to do afterwards. I think college is just so much more of a time to do things that you want to do. And you don't have to take algebra 2 if you don't want to. You don't have to take a science anymore if you don't want to. Those are two things that I don't want to do. So I think school-wise, like academic-wise, choosing your major that you enjoy and choosing clubs and activities that you enjoy, I feel like that allows you to balance the work and the fun more so than in high school because you're really paving your own way for the future that you want to have. So do what you love because that's what will make it fun.
Right. And every professor and every mentor that you have here wants to see you doing that. And I think first semester, I kind of did the opposite. I was too tough on myself and thinking that I needed to do everything. And I kind of came in with that DHS mindset right away. And everyone was like, chill out, like, do what you want to do. It doesn't really matter if you like have a 4.0 or whatever. Like, it's, yes, you need to succeed and we're taught to succeed, but at the same time you're preparing for life. You're not preparing for another school, unless, well, if you go to grad school, good for you, but it's like you're doing something that's going to make you happy ultimately, and you have to just realize that you're put here for a reason and you're supposed to have fun and you're supposed to try things, and they want you to succeed. Like, it's there, nobody's going to tell you no or tell you that you're failing and not trying. Like, you just have to put in the effort and do your best and manage everything, which it's not as hard as it seems. It's not as hard as it is at DHS, I don't think.
I love that. So any advice to our almost graduated seniors who are going to be starting on their post high school journeys? Any advice you would give them about transitioning to the next phase?
I think definitely try to find, very similar to what we were just talking about, try to find what truly interests you, because I feel like there is a lot of pressure in Darien in general, and especially at Darien High School, to do what everybody else is doing, whether that's taking a class or any activity, whatever it may be, doing one sport over another. I think there is a stigma to do what is cool, whether or not that's something you're really interested in or not. That's what I think is so important in college, to whether you were in high school and doing things that you loved or not. I think coming here and actually finding and pursuing things that you really liked, because you're not really afraid of what other people are going to say or think of you anymore, hopefully, or if you didn't in the first place, and that's great too. But I think it's really nice to, as well as we were prepared for college academically and socially, I think it's really nice to just kind of break out of the bubble a little bit and do things that really make you happy, because that's something that you're gonna try to be doing for the rest of your life. So I think that's the most important thing, just being true to yourself, as cheesy as that may seem.
I love that.
I think something important is, whether you know where you're going right now or if you're still deciding, start looking into what your school has. Like, I just had no idea how much I could do here. And when I got here, I was so shocked and honestly overwhelmed. But people knew what was going on. They had looked it up, and just like look into things, not only to know about them, but to give yourself something to look forward to. Like, I feel like once I got in that senior slump, like at the end of the year, I was like, I just want to go. I want to be there. And so I started watching videos and looking into clubs and just envision your future self now, because you'll be so happy when you're in that position.
Such fantastic advice, and I am so appreciative of your time and your wisdom, and we're so happy to hear that you're doing so well. And so thank you for joining us and for sharing that with our almost graduates. It was great to see you both.
Thank you very
You.
much.